Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Thor Conklin, and today we have Ryan Mulvany. Did I get that right?
Mulvany, but Mulvany is how you're supposed to pronounce it if we're in Ireland. So technically, yes.
Right.
The United States, no.
In the pre-show, that just goes to figure. He's the founder of Quiver, a self-proclaimed Amazon holic. He has facilitated over $1 billion in sales on Amazon. He sold Quiver to Advantage Solutions in 2017. He's still involved there advising clients, consumer packaged goods, beauty, private equity, venture capital, and startups. Man, $1 billion. Dude, drop the mic on that one. Well done.
Yeah. I always joke, just people like buying stuff on Amazon, and we just make it easy for them to do that. It's not like anything magical that we've done. It's just sort of riding the Amazon tide.
Yeah, but, there's a little magic, or at least there's some analytics to it. People, I think, so often get hung up in this thing. It's like, if I create it, they will come. If I produce it, they will buy it. That's BS. I mean, you've got to be found, and it's becoming more and more difficult to be found on a platform like Amazon. I don't know if everybody's like me, but if I see something for sale, matter of fact, I was at a bike shop the other day, and they had a bike pump. And I was like, I really need a bike pump. I'm like, I was right there. And I'm like, I'm going to go to Amazon and I'm going to Google it and see what are the top 10, sellers on Amazon. So I literally walked out of a retail store that I could have had it immediately and decided to purchase. I mean, they are taking over the world. And if you are selling products and you're not on Amazon, I mean, I think you're lost.
Yeah, and you're spot on. I definitely recreate that behavior. Just don't try to do it at Home Depot. It's like really hard to get on Amazon when you're in Home Depot for some reason. I thought it was like this conspiracy about them blocking Amazon, but my partner told me that it's all about like all the metal that's around you makes it hard to get on the internet, apparently. But you're so spot on about, if you're not marketing yourself, like you're not going to be found. And, Amazon is this complex web of ways to market. And there's a whole infrastructure in place that we have to support that. But the thing that impresses me is the brands that like grow and get crazy that don't even use Amazon. These brands like Hims and Keeps, like you just see them like all over like, TV and maybe podcasts and stuff like that. They're not even on Amazon. And then when they come to Amazon, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy growth.
Well, I get pissed off. I'll see something on like Instagram and it's like, hey, buy from a shopping cart. I'm like, all right, I like the product. I'm going to Amazon to buy it. And then it's not there. I'm like, wait a second. I know if I'm on Amazon, I know it's going to be delivered in 2 days. It's going to be free shipping. And the cool part is I always know where like all my outstanding orders are. I don't have to have a separate note and say, oh yeah, remember to get this product from, Bob's that who knows how they're going to ship it. God forbid they ship it by the U.S. Postal Service. It'll never get here. I feel confident when I buy something from Amazon that I'm protected. It's going to show up. It's going to be as described. I've got other viewers telling me what they think about the product. I don't know what else I can buy on Amazon, but I'm sold. He's got to be the next trillionaire.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a convenient experience within Amazon. It's not always the best shopping experience. Like if you're browsing through Amazon, it's a little bit clunky in my opinion. If you know exactly what you want to buy, I think it's great. But I think one of the reasons why you see those brands sort of springing up on Instagram or direct through their website is in the beginning, they can control the conversation about what you're going to say positively or negatively about that. And then they can choose what they want to display. So, going to Amazon is a very big litmus test. And some brands don't want to take that, at least not initially while they're sort of going through that, like bring a product to market cycle and perfect it.
What's your ideal client? I mean, who's, if you were to take everybody and just say, these are the ones that we really move the needle on.
Right. Yeah. So my personal passion are like emerging brands in the health and natural food space, just because that's who I am. If you go through my cupboards, our company about 2 years ago, we sold to a strategic partner called Advantage Sales and Marketing. They're the largest broker in the United States for consumer packaged goods. So they'll work with very big, if you go to a grocery store, like most of those brands are owned by like 5 or 6 companies, Procter and Gamble and Unilever and so forth. And so when we were acquired, we were brought in to work with their biggest sort of portfolio clients. And so, it's enjoyable to work with brands like that. I also like, still some of those brands that are disrupting bigger categories. And we do have a handful of clients in that natural sort of grocery category as well. And I like anything that's consumable because I have an opportunity to sell a product to you, but then sell it back to you again in the future. We shy away from, there's a couple of categories that are just complex within Amazon, like apparel or shoes or jewelry. Those are the only really categories we sort of, I guess software too, but it's a consumer packed good, we normally are going to be selling it.
Got it. Those repeat customers.
Mm-hmm. We love them.
So, I noticed something, it wasn't in your bio, but it was on some of the interesting facts page. And that was, you owe your success to a sociology textbook, but you never took the class. You piqued my interest, man. What's the textbook and what did you learn?
It was I didn't take the class. I don't actually remember the name. It was like behavioral something or others. And I owe a lot to that textbook. And it was because my fiance at the time was taking a sociology class and just finished up with it. I had graduated 2 years before her, was working as a kayaking tour guide, just really crushing life. I had a college degree. And then I was like, I'm just going to go teach kayaking lessons and stuff like that. And so she comes to me with this textbook and she's like, you're not super busy. Why don't you try to sell this on Amazon? And I was like, Amazon? Like, okay. Like I sold my truck on eBay. Like I'm going to sell something on Amazon for you. Like, and so I put it up and about 20 minutes later it sold. And I was like, whoa, for like $50. And I was like, okay. And so I'm like looking around, there's like books everywhere. I was at her parents' house because we didn't have our own place. I took all of her parents' books off the shelves, listed them, went to bed, and like overnight had sold a ton more products. I was like, okay, so now I just need to like find books and I'm going to start selling it. And so it was sort of this backdoor way into selling products on Amazon, the way that Amazon started, which was in the book space. And this was like maybe like 10 or 12 years ago, something like that.
Interesting. So that started the empire, the textbook.
Yeah. And then the Kindle came out and I got like terrified that like people were going to stop reading physical books. And so, we were bouncing back and forth between her parents' house and my parents' house. They're so supportive of us. And so I ended up like looking into drop shipping, which wasn't really like known back then. But so that means you can basically ship products to a customer without actually taking an inventory position. So we did that for a number of years. And then I ended up getting a job at an agency and realized there was a potential here to offer Amazon services, but probably better set in a net new company rather than just rolling it up into that agency.
The algorithms are always changing. And if you're not staying on top of that and you're not doing this every single day, it's very easy to get skipped over. What do you see the next phases of Amazon's development?
You're spot on. It's always changing and you never know when they're changing and you never know what they're changing to. And in fact, you don't even know what they are. Like it's all assumptive. It's sort of like Google. And because of that, because 5 or 6 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of people doing stuff on Amazon. You could stand up a brand within there and it wasn't very hard to get traction in sales and that sort of thing. Today, there's just so much knowledge about how to do it. And there's so many people that have done it and done it well that if you really want to stand up a new brand and sell well, you have to look outside of Amazon and really set up the social profile, set up the direct-to-consumer experience through your website, and then grow it and start running media outside of Amazon. And you can point that traffic towards your website. You can point back to Amazon. Those are all the things that are going to help you grow internally and, show up for certain search words within Amazon, get better conversions. It's how do you tell that story all over the web and let the consumer choose where they want to check out, whether that be on your website or Amazon or even a store if you have that footprint. I think that's one big theme. I think the other big theme is, Amazon launching their own brands, which they continue to do, and they continue to get better at it. And I don't see that slowing down at any point.
Yeah, it's interesting, their brands and good quality.
Yeah, great quality. You wouldn't even know it's theirs. The days of, Amazon Basics, while they're still doing super well with those brands and Amazon Elements, You can order a product on Amazon and not even know it's an Amazon brand and get it. And you still wouldn't know unless you really like dug into it.
Interesting. So they're not just under the Basics brand. They're actually using other brands that look like a traditional company, and it's actually owned by Amazon.
Yeah. And then beyond that, they have a program called Amazon Accelerator, and they will partner with strategic startups and give them additional marketing resources within the site. In exchange, they'll take an equity position in that brand and then can acquire it at some point. So they're looking at it like, hey, we need to maybe go down the path of that Trader Joe's model, where we're going to have a lot of private label versions of ourselves within the catalog because they're going to probably stand to make a lot more money. They're going to have customers of their own products as opposed to being sort of a broker between the customer and the brands.
Interesting. Always evolving. Hey, I saw something else in your notes as well, and that was you were offered your dream job, and then you take it. It sounded like, and then it turned into immediately an unpaid internship.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
That was I selling stuff on Amazon at that point? I don't know. I think I was. Yeah, because I was a kayaking tour guide selling stuff. So yeah, I got that was after the kayaking tour guide. I knew Amazon wasn't going to be the thing yet, so I started looking for jobs, and there was this cool internship posting. And I was like, okay, that sounds rad. It was a tech startup. It was going to allow me to sort of stroke that entrepreneurial desire that I had. I went in there. They liked me, and the guy said, you know what, how much do you want to make? I was like, that's a great interview question, especially because I'm an intern, and I had done 10 or 12 internships before that were all unpaid. So I was like, I can get paid. He's like, I want to offer you a job. How much you want to make? I was like, oh man, don't ask for too much. Don't ask. Okay, 40 grand. He's like, I'll give you 38. And I was like, I'm done. I'm stoked. I just got my dream job. Life's made for me now. And then, 2 days later, the guy got let go, and they told me that they can't pay me, and they're not going to be able to pay me anytime soon. And so I ended up working there for probably a year, unpaid. But I was living at home. I was learning a ton, and it fueled the Amazon thing because it was like, hey, I got to start subsidizing my income. And I remember going into that job, I would come in with all my books. In this giant, I was so cheap that I would get old grocery bags and I would wrap my books in grocery bags. It was eco-friendly and it was free. And then I would go to the post office during lunch to ship out all the books. And so people they'd come in. I'd come in with my big books. I didn't hide it. I was like, look at all these books, and I would probably amounted to $6 in profit. But it was something. It paid for a burrito. But
you were grinding it out. I love that story about the internship because. I think so often today you see young entrepreneurs, the younger generation. It's like, I want everything now versus, hey, just give me an opportunity. Just give me a foot in the door where I can learn and then take that knowledge and then flip it into a paid job there or somewhere else. My kids, when they were growing up, I said, look, if you want to work at Goldman Sachs, anybody can work there. Just show up and tell them that you're going to do whatever it takes. You'll take out the garbage, but you just want to be part of the organization.
Right. Yeah. I think it comes back to, how bad do you want it? Yeah. And then structure your life in a way that can get you that. I needed knowledge. I went to college for a degree. I got 2 degrees. I didn't want to use either of them. And so I was like, I got to, eat humble pie and learn. And the tech startup was a perfect incubator for that. I got access and exposure to all sorts of things that I probably wasn't warranted to see. Or get exposure to, but they're like, look, you're a body and we need to throw stuff on you. And so you end up going to grad school basically. And that's how in my brain, I was like, look, I'm not paying for grad school. I'm not getting paid as an employee, but it's free grad school.
Absolutely. Make everything of the opportunity. You built an amazing organization. What are some of the lessons that you learned along the way? The things that didn't work and the things that did work? What, if you roll back the clock and you said, oh man, I wish I had done that a little differently, or man, I didn't even know if this was going to work, and we tried it and it was like, my God, it just blew up.
Right. It's a good question. So the way that Quiver actually started was spawned out of an agency, like I said. And so I went to the owner of that business when I was his employee, and I said, hey, there's this Amazon opportunity over here. I think we should look at it. And we decided this was, it was different enough from the agency that we needed to spin up a net new entity. And he was so supportive of me. He had started numerous agencies. So I think the first lesson learned is, having the right partner. And in this case, partners, because we quickly then brought in another guy who had a ton of experience to stand up. And I remember maybe like 3 months in, our business is hedged on us buying product and then selling it on Amazon's marketplace. And so we have to cash flow all of that. So when we land a new account, it's great, but now we have to cut a PO for a bunch of product. And so I remember like within like 3 months, we didn't have enough money to make payroll. And we didn't have a lot of people, but I remember calling the partner and I was like, hey man, like we're going to be short. Like we're going to get paid by Amazon in like 2 weeks, but we're short right now for invoices. And he's like, oh yeah, it's cash flow problems. That's cool. Let's figure this out. And I was like, cash flow? Like what does that even mean? I don't even know what that meant. And so I think having people next to me that had already taken bullets over their head and just standing calm when the bullets flew, like that made a huge difference. They also just had connections to different, potential clients, to resources on like a CFO standpoint. Like it was just a way to sort of accelerate the momentum. So yeah, partners was like my big sort of takeaway, and really like knowing what you're good at and being the expert of that, and then letting the others be the experts of those other pieces. Yeah. And in that breath, we quickly brought on a COO who we probably couldn't have afforded at the time. But again, she represented scale. And if we really wanted to believe in scaling this business, we brought her on, and she allowed us to not hire a bunch of people. So we hired someone strategically, took on a lot of the role. And then we were able to grow sort of lean. I mean, we're still a lean organization. We only have like 30 employees total. And so we got pretty good at like outsourcing certain capabilities. Lessons learned. One is cash flow. That's a thing, and you can struggle with it or not. We did some, I call them science experiments, where, we went sort of outside of our model to explore like new revenue opportunities. It was still e-commerce focused, but for instance, we wanted to do what we do on Amazon on Etsy. We thought there was a play there, and it just we didn't bring in the right person. It didn't pencil out. It was an expensive mistake, and we made that mistake a couple times, with just different assets. And I remember when the idea of us actually like selling the business came up, I thought in my head, I'm like, oh man, is this just going to be another really expensive science experiment? So we're going to have to retain a broker. We're going to have to pay a fee regardless of being bought. I guess that's a lesson learned. And then also a thing of, well, never stop experimenting, because, I guess if you kiss enough frogs, you'll find your prince. And if you make enough mistakes, you could potentially, you're only like one step away from making the right choice. And so in the end, exiting the business was a very good thing for us, and we're very excited about it. So yeah, always getting up when you fall down, I guess, would be the moral of that story.
Yeah, I mean, young entrepreneurs, it's so often I have conversations with them, and they're like, well, that's easy for you to say. You've been an entrepreneur for the last 21 years, and you figured it all out. I was like, I've not figured it all out. I fall so many times a day, it's not even funny. I'm just getting up quick.
Right.
I'm running, I'm falling, I'm scraping my knees, and I'm just getting up, and I just keep running. And when I fall, I try to fall forward, so I just make a couple more inches, right?
Yeah.
Never get it.
I wrote down this line. Actually, I wrote it. It's written right here. I'm going to read it. It was the start of the finish line. Wait. The start is the finish line, even if you take two steps back. And I was like, start is the finish line, even if you take 2 steps back. And it's true, right? It's just all about perspective and moving forward again, no matter where you're starting from. Even if you fall back, you can be back in the beginning. So
just stay in the race.
Yeah, everyone. If you're not failing, you're not trying. Like you can just sit and be content. Like that's cool. Like if that's where you're at in life. But I'm still trying to push the boulder up the hill every day.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny because I've been talking a lot of this on social media recently. Is everything we've learned in life, other than pooping and peeing, was a learned habit. We didn't know how to talk. We didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to tie our shoes. We didn't know how to do anything. We massively failed at everything in life until we just figured out how to do it. And then we become adults, and it's like, I don't want to fail. Well, if you don't fail, you're not going to learn. If you don't learn, you're not going to be able to have it, to accomplish it, to learn it. Failure is part of success.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a 10-month-old who's just started walking, and you see it all the time. I watched her yesterday trying to climb into this ball pit, and the first 6 times she couldn't make it up over. The next time she made it over and almost did a head plant through it. I had to catch her, and I had to do that 3 more times, and then she finally figured out how to crawl down it. But yeah, it's the process of continuous failure. I like how you put it there. I never thought about it in that context. Here's the 2 things you know how to do. And breathe. There's 3. Breathing's the other one. And then the rest of it's just
right. I forgot about the breathing. Exactly.
Although we often forget to breathe, so that's the problem. We start holding our breath too often and all that.
And the pooping and the peeing, we didn't do very well, right? We had to actually learn a couple skills connected to that.
Right, exactly.
Did you raise any capital along the way?
Yeah, so initially, because it was a sort of a cash-intensive business, we raised $50,000 or something. And then after that, we raised a little bit more money from 2 other guys. And then we had a couple notes, but it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't it was definitely less than $500,000. And we got it all paid off, fairly quick. And then what was cool is Amazon actually came to us with a loan, and we were able to, because we have all our inventory in Amazon's fulfillment centers, they said, look, we'll give you a loan because if you default on the loan, we've got your inventory, and we're just going to take your payment out of the payments we're normally going to make to you. And so Amazon came to us with Amazon lending and really helped us scale our business, and that was monumental. But to that degree, in order to continue to grow our business, we realized we're going to have to keep raising money if we tapped out on the Amazon loan, and we're potentially going to be diluting our business to grow it. And so that's when we started thinking about scale and the potential of being acquired by somebody who doesn't have the cash flow constraints that we would have.
Yeah. It's interesting because you touch on a topic here that I talk a lot with clients, and that is you can grow yourself into bankruptcy very quickly. If you have a capital-intensive business where you need inventory, if sales are skyrocketing, you've got a major issue because the difference between your receivables and your payables on the product can put you under very, very quickly.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that fast enough sometimes. And then the flip of it is when they're out there with these crazy marketing budgets, not really realizing the true return on their investment when you break it down to the actual all right, we sold this and here's what we netted from it. Because there's so many ways that you can spend money nowadays to try to get customers into your funnel. Yeah, you can certainly grow yourself. You see companies that are growing at these trajectories, they'll be on Shark Tank, we have this crazy revenue, we're pre-profit. And it's okay, I get it. You're taking up market and you're proving a point, and at some point you're gonna become profitable. But it's a scary and capital intensive business model. And by the end of it, if you're a founder of it, you probably don't have a whole lot of skin left in the game unless you've self-financed it.
Yeah. I always get a chuckle out of social media personalities. Hey, I spent $6 million on Facebook ads last quarter. Wow. Is that a boast? What does that really mean? Did you make money on that? Anybody can spend money on Facebook ads or any sort of ads. What did it produce? And I think there's a culture of, hey, let's just get more and more marketing, more advertising out there. There's got to be an ROI on it.
I think it's that model where it's you learn how to do something, you get good at it, and then it gets more competitive. So then you start teaching other people how to do what you used to do. It's not always the case. There's really I took an amazing Amazon course at the very beginning of this thing, and they're still flourishing to this day. But you see it far too often, and you get these. I've seen courses where it's you're gonna do you're gonna make you're gonna make $100,000 in sales or in profits, and they start mixing the word sales and profit, and people don't get it, and people don't get cool, you just sold, $100,000 worth of product. You now need to restock with another, X hundreds of $1,000s worth of product just to be in stock. And it's not these instant cash cows that they're often promised to be.
Yeah, you can't pay your bills with accounts receivable.
No.
Cash.
Nope.
I had another question for you. Oh, the lessons learned during the sale. Congratulations once again on making that happen. What are some of the things that you would tell someone who's considering selling their company, some of the lessons learned?
Great question. So I think that we used a broker and they were able to come in and really, get our business into shape in order to sell. Like, so what are the things that we should be doing from a finance perspective before we even talk to anybody? And then once that's all tidied up, when you start having those conversations with potential acquirers, you've got everything sort of ready to go. It makes diligence go much quicker and more seamlessly. My recommendation is don't buy a house while you're in diligence that you're sort of hoping on a deal closing for. I did that. I didn't have to sell the business to get the house, but it made it nicer. So don't do that. Don't throw too stress. I was always like, if I'm stressing about this, and I'm not one to stress, but if I've got this little stressor here and I've got this little stressor here, I'll combine them. I'll stress about one thing. Right. It doesn't really work like that. Really, figure out why you're selling your business. And I guess the other side of it is just the timing of it. When are you going to sell the business? And realize what you want to get out of it. Are you going to continue to work for it? Do you want to walk away from it on the next, the day after the sale? All of those things are conversations you're going to need to have with yourself, because if you're burnt out and then you're selling your business and then they want to do an earn-out deal, like, you're not going to be very motivated to negotiate that deal. And it's going to put you in a bad place from a negotiation standpoint. So I think knowing your intentions before you go into it, for me, it was, I'd like to have an exit while I was, decently young. And then I wanted to get on a platform like with a bigger company to see how big we could grow this thing. And luckily the company, they stayed who they said they were during the diligence process, and still enjoying it here.
That's excellent. I love the point about getting your house in order. Anytime you're going through a sale, if there's any sort of ambiguity or question marks in the buyer's mind, it will take multiples off of the deal. So you got to have everything's got to be bulletproof. And when they ask a question, you better have a good answer.
And I guess the last note on that is, so our company that bought us, they can only close deals on the first of the month. And so it's because they're a big company. They acquire a lot of businesses. It makes sense when you're in their shoes. But when you're, a week out from the first of the next month and you realize you're not going to close, and you realize you're going to have to be in another 40 days of diligence. And we missed our date 2 or 3 times. And so our diligence, which I thought was going to take 45 to 60 days, something like that, it ended up being like 90, which is still quick, super quick within diligence. I think it was 90 days, something like that. But so just don't sell your business to a business that needs to close on the first of the month. and try to go through diligence as short as possible. Just do all that pre-homework like I was talking about, so that diligence can just be like a handshake and we're done. Yeah.
I mean, it's when it gets complex and they have questions and the information you're providing isn't necessarily as clear as they want it to be. They want
right. And it's just more exposure. I mean, you could have, for our business, we could have a big client leave. You could have Amazon change some policy. You could have a key employee leave. It's just the longer you leave yourself open to that, the more likely is something like that's going to happen. Luckily, nothing like that happened.
Yeah, and during due diligence, were you focused on selling the company or growing the company and taking care of business?
Sorry, what was that?
During the due diligence process, were you focused on the due diligence and selling the company, or were you focused on growing the company and taking care of business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So always focused on the latter. We never counted our eggs before they hatched.
Yeah, but it's a distraction, right? I mean, so much of your time and energy was spent in, when you're selling a company, it's like, man, it's like, all right, let's get this thing sold. Let's get this thing sold.
Right.
It's a distraction, and if it goes on too long, it can have a significant effect on the purchase price because, like you said, things can slip.
Yeah, things can slip. Your motivations can change. And I think it's just perception of the staff. When you're selling a company, in some degree, it's a secret, to some of the staff, and you still want to you don't want to hold secrets out there. I'm a very transparent person, and so you just don't want to leave anybody in limbo. And again, you don't want to tell anybody until it's done, because that's unfair to be like, oh, we're selling. Oh, by the way, we're not selling anymore. And so there's you have a responsibility to speak the truth. And so just the shorter that you don't have to go through that, just the better.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to you. I was looking at some of your social media stuff before we did the interview, And I loved what you did on Facebook. I don't know how long ago it was. You basically came on, quick little video. I said, hey, I'm creating this new Facebook group. I have nothing to sell you. There's nothing to buy. There's no pitch here. I'm just going to bring a group together because I want to have a cool conversation about what's happening, how the landscape is changing. I want to network with people. I want to find out from you what you're seeing, and let's just have some fun in this community. So I commend you for that, and I just love the way you went about doing that. And my final question today is, for the young entrepreneurs out there that say, I want to sell on Amazon. I don't know what I want to sell. I have a business, but this Amazon thing, I want to get in business and I want to sell product on Amazon. What do you tell the newbie out there?
Start with why. What is your goal? Like, do you want to run a company? Do you want to put a product that you're really passionate about in people's hands? Do you want to make a lot of money? Like, have that conversation with yourself, because it's going to allow you to justify the amount of effort you're going to need to put into it or not, right? If you're like, look, I'm sort of just, I don't know, I'm kind of bored. I want to do it. It's like, it's probably not the best intention to go forward. There's probably easier ways to make money, less capital intensive ways to make money. So I would definitely, have that conversation with yourself. And then from there, there's just so much good information. I mean, you go to YouTube, how to sell stuff on Amazon. There's Facebook groups, there's podcasts. I even did a course on LinkedIn about how to market and sell products on Amazon. So there's just a flurry of information out there, but I think it comes back to why you're doing it. And then the last thing to consider is, know that the first product you launch may not be the one you're going to hang your hat on. It took us a couple, like you said, you fall down, you get up, you have to learn, and you don't always want to learn how to dance with the girl you want to end up with. And so, on these products, like you sort of fail your way forward, and then you're like, all right, now I sort of know the things we need to do, and now we can jump into the one that we really want to sell. So I think just don't get frustrated on, the specifics, and keep moving forward.
Keep moving. Love it. Well, all the information about Ryan will be in the show notes, contact information, etc. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience before we sign off?
No, just thankful to be here. Thanks so much for the time. I wish I had your voice.
Well, I can't give you my voice, but you can take my name, change the name.
Yeah, you told me about that. I gotta come up with my superhero name.
Yeah,
that'll be the next episode.
Yeah, the only thing I will tell you, the most painful part of the process, I went to Social Security office today. That was a pain. That was 4 hours of just pure.
Oh, really?
Frustration. Yeah, you have to do it in person.
Okay, I guess I won't do Wolverine.
So there you go.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much for coming on. Great job. Congratulations. And I really do appreciate I really resonated with your approach on social media. I just love the fact that you said, hey, look, there's so many people pitching out there, left and right, buy my product, buy my program, my ebook, my, white paper, everything else. You're like, hey, let's just get together and talk, and let's learn from each other. So great job.
Yeah. When we did the LinkedIn one, they're like, what do you want to charge for this? I was like, I don't want to charge anything for it. I don't believe in that. And they're like, but what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to make money. So they put it up. It's on LinkedIn Learning, I think. And you can sign up for a 30-day trial, which is plenty of time to get through it. And then you don't have to pay for it. So yeah, I didn't want to be that guy that was like, we're not going to charge any, I'm going to charge over here. So I think there's just so much information out there.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing that, man. And have a great day. Thank you for taking the time and sharing with us.
Thanks, buddy.